Hello, I'm August. I'm working for Welement as a project manager.
Very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
And can you please tell us about your process?
Sure. So our manufacturing process really starts from the design. Our design can be sort of in large parts split into two. One is designed for production and the other is then for assembly.
So you start from the architectural design.
Absolutely.
And your designers are making the engineering design.
Yes.
And when that is ready, you are producing these files that you need for manufacturing.
Exactly, but somewhat depends on the project. So some projects come into Welement already in very great detail. So they just have to make the elements in a 3D model and produce the necessary files then for the production line.
Okay.
But sometimes, of course, clients come with us with just, a conceptual design.
Yes.
And then they have to work through optimizing the design for production. So to make sure that everything goes as smooth as possible in production, but also on site.
So every project is different.
Absolutely. We are still making sort of tailor-made
But would
houses.
you recommend clients to come to you at an early stage in their architectural design?
Absolutely. The earlier the better. That way we can help and guide the design process so that it's the most efficient from both the manufacturing side but also assembly, and also that way the customer will get the better end product. The quality will be better, it'll be in all likelihood a lot cheaper.
Let's talk about the factory production.
Sure.
So how does it work? What is the step-by-step process in production?
It all starts with the cutting station where we cut all the timber into sort of separate pieces that are necessary to assemble the frame. So the machine we have gets the information from the designers, sort of what pieces it needs to cut. It also marks them, labels them, drills holes if it's necessary, but again, information going from the design.
Yeah.
And it also optimizes the use of timber. So if you input a number of elements, it cuts the timber in the most optimal way.
With the minimal
waste.
Yes.
Exactly. And once all the pieces for one element have been cut, then these are assembled and brought to the beginning of the assembly line.
Yes.
And then the actual production of the element really starts.
Yes, so you start by making the frame.
Yes.
Then the frame, they work on the, let's say, top surface of the frame. Then the frame is tilted on the other side, right?
Usually that's the regular flow, yes. So they assemble the frame on one table, then it moves to the next position where usually we install the main insulation into the frame. Again, depending a little bit on the project, then usually either the vapor barrier or then the OSB boards or wind barrier boards and wind barrier membranes, and it sort of moves from position to position, and on the very last position on the production line, then usually the cladding installation happens.
Yes.
And the installation of the boards and cladding is usually done with the bridge we have there that sort of
nails
exactly.
the boards on the frame.
Nails the boards, nails the gypsum, nails the cladding, but it can also cut out window holes and
so this bridge is a pretty spectacular machine. What else can it do?
The bridge is really sort of, I always, whenever I'm taking a tour in the factory, then say that this is our piece de résistance, which really separates us from the other manufacturers. The bridge really gives our products the quality, because again, a joke I always like to say is that the bridge never has a hangover. His wife has never left him.
Yes. So it always makes a constant output.
Exactly.
Yes.
So the nail always goes where it has to go, and there's no deviation or any quality mistakes. But at the moment, what the main features of the bridge are like I mentioned, then nailing, stapling of gypsum, cutting the boards to measure on already the element, cutting out window holes. It can be also used just for marking. So let's say we need to use screws somewhere that we can't use with the bridge, then you can mark out the line and
then you can screw it manually. Yeah. Okay, then basically the element is ready at the end of the line.
More or less. So depending on the elements, some elements have windows, of course.
Yes.
So when they come off the line, they move on to our window assembly part of the factory. So where the windows are installed, depending on the project, then the flashing is installed.
Yes, and the elements are moved from the production line to the other stations with the trolley.
Yeah, basically an automated trolley.
Yes,
that,
you don't have a crane in this area of the factory.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So okay, you load the element on the trolley, then the trolley moves to the windows, for example.
Yes, and they can also move just to a buffer station, or because quite often the elements are produced faster than we can assemble the windows. So elements come off the line, they just go into sort of a shelf.
Yeah, waiting for windows.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. And then it can be easily moved to the window installation again. And
okay, so then after windows, the element is really ready. We are talking now of external elements.
Basically yes. Usually around the windows or around the flashing, guys also install, just protection for transport, so nothing gets damaged. In essence, then the element is ready.
And then last step is packaging.
Exactly.
Yes. How do you do that?
So packaging, again, somewhat depends on the project and the requirements or sort of necessities of the clients. So we're very flexible. Usually we package each element separately, or at least they have a top part covering them. So when it finally reaches the site and the assembly starts, it's still protected.
You can stay outside for a few hours without getting wet.
Yes, and then elements are usually grouped together, let's say 4 or 5 elements, depending on the size, depending on the loading plan and installation plan, and then covered once more. So no elements can get in. So, no rain, no snow, whatever it is. So they are always protected and the quality is maintained. So,
okay. How do you load the elements on the trucks?
So the elements are loaded with our in-house crane. Usually we do the loading inside the factory.
So the truck is coming inside and you do it under the roof.
Exactly.
Okay.
Again, this minimizes the risk of weather on the elements. So they're pretty much all the time indoors. And if they're loaded indoors as well, then the first time they actually might come into contact with the elements is on site. So.
Yeah. Do you have a storage space in the factory?
We do.
I'm talking about elements. So if you have produced something that you don't ship immediately, do you have a storage space?
Yes, we have quite a bit of room to store the elements inside as well. But it's sort of, it's not a balloon. So
you try to produce and ship,
as much as possible, yes. But of course we can keep some elements indoors for a while until they are shipped out. And but like I mentioned earlier, then there are also the buffer stations where we can store the elements before they are packed. So if necessary, we can just put the ready-made elements in there as well. So we have a bit of flexibility where to keep the elements before they are actually shipped out. So.
Okay. I think that's all. Right? Fantastic factory you have, and thank you very much for the explanation.
Absolutely, anytime.